posts. You do all those really great posts that I get to share with other people. I love it.
Yeah, I've also been busy on Clubhouse the last couple of weeks too, which has been a whole new place to play. It's quite something.
I saw that. Yeah, I've got a couple people that are on it, so I've been watching. Well,
yes.
Now we're done chatting and getting back because we haven't been here for 2 whole weeks.
We're back.
We were missing each other. We're just seeing each other on Facebook and Instagram and stuff. So this is Let's Talk About Dating on GoingSoloMedia.com with Christine and Barry. Hi, Barry.
Hi, Christine. It's good to be back.
Oh, it really is. I missed you.
Only 2 weeks. I know, but it's so weird.
Scintillating conversations about dating, and oh, how fun this one is. The most important relationship you can have is the one in the mirror, meaning with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Because everything is on that foundation. It's really the foundation of everything in your life.
Right. And it's funny because it's interesting because I said I've been playing on Clubhouse the last few weeks, and people can find me there. It's easy to find me, it's my name. But the thing is, like with Clubhouse, then I was on a podcast interview, and then I was on something else. I was teaching in a Facebook group, and it's been the same topic every time because it's the most fundamental piece I talk about. Because even though and it's funny because I actually was playing with like my bio on Clubhouse and saying that really with my work, I'm not so much a relationship coach as I'm a relationship with self coach.
Yeah.
Because that's what we're really about. I mean, that's the secret of what we do is we don't so much help people find their great relationship out there as much as we help find a great relationship inside here. So then they get the one out there.
Mm-hmm. You're so right. And it's something that comes up so frequently with my coaching where somebody I'm newly coaching and they'll talk about how, gosh, I feel so much pressure do they like me and will they like me? And I said, well, first, let's see how much you like yourself. How much do you like yourself? Let's look at what you like about you. And that is truly, I've talked about my list about, what is it that you really have to have in a relationship and what you can't have in a relationship. And then what do you bring to a relationship?
Yeah.
Let's talk about who you are and your worthiness and your juiciness and your uniqueness and why somebody, male or female, is really lucky to have you in their life if you're a really good match for them. And it is one of the hardest lists, especially for women, to make out.
I'm not sure if men have it much easier, to be honest. I'm thinking about my own experience. It's still
right.
Well, let me turn it back a second. Those who have strong egos can do it more easily, perhaps, but the focus of what they're writing isn't necessarily the truth.
Yes, or what will help them in relationships.
Right, because it's going to be about the car, the house, the business, everything else, versus their qualities they bring. Presence, depth, compassion, care, love, heart, all these different things.
Such a good point, Bob. Yes, you must know how to love yourself before you can love others. That has so many layers to it. Yes, because what I find for both men and women, somebody genuinely will give you a compliment. Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, it's not that. And let me tell you the other 14 things that are against that.
If only you knew me. If only you knew me well.
So much.
Been there, done that. Yes.
Oh, haven't we all? And we don't even realize we're doing it. Mm-hmm. And what's sad is often those people were really genuinely saying something they noticed, and they really are giving you a very honest compliment. And so then the other person's like, well, I really thought that was the truth. And wow, is there something wrong with me? And would I ever give them another compliment? Because how uncomfortable it is to genuinely compliment somebody and have them like dismiss it, push it aside, tell you how you're wrong.
Well, and the other side of it, and actually on the same side of what you're saying, is that when somebody gives a compliment, the fact they see that in you, if you deny it, you're almost denying their skills, and you're saying almost like, you're wrong, I'm not that.
Yeah.
Versus receiving it, allowing it in when the person is being genuinely honest. Mm-hmm. So these are all things that destroy any chance of having a really intimate, honest, communicative relationship.
How it shoots ourselves in the foot when you're like, well, how come they're not coming closer? Well, they keep trying to, and you keep pushing them away in this very core way.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I've explained to people, I said, I have never had to teach somebody to give themselves a hard time. They're very good at it. We could have gold medal contests. All the ways we give ourselves a hard time and put ourselves down so sad.
Yeah, I'm not sure I want to give them medals out for it, though. That would be wrong. It's reinforcing bad behavior. Not a good idea.
Well, that's true. That's such a good point. I was just thinking they're so excellent at it.
But you're right. Yeah, that's the thing. We have such great skills in this area, and it's like, what if we could have great skills in how we compliment and love ourselves,
yeah,
and then have competition? Not, I mean, we're going to be careful with this one. It's like we're not talking about narcissism here, or talking about other levels of self-love. We're talking about respecting and caring and really having support for ourselves. When we are our own biggest cheerleader from the heart level. And this thing about this thing in the mirror, the self-love piece, I've talked about it so many times that some people associate this self-love thing as being egotistical.
Yes.
Being almost the place where if I love myself, I'm putting other people down, like it's an either or versus both and recognizing that when you love yourself truly, like from your heart, not from your mind or from your ego, from your heart, you become much more bright in your own light and shining. So you become more attractive.
Yes. Oh, yes. It is so super drawing people in. It's one of those charisma things. When you say, and when people have charisma, it's because they're standing in their uniqueness and they're fine with it. They're okay with it. They celebrate it. And that is such an important element to live a happy, healthy life. And if you're going to look for a partner, because if you're putting yourself down, then you're going to maybe pick somebody that puts themselves down too, or is ready, willing, and able to put you down.
Absolutely.
But it's sad how often that happens.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's a common practice because, I mean, we also live in a culture that generates the wrong word. We live in a culture that perpetuates, is probably a better word, negativity.
Mm-hmm.
The media is all about that, and so I mean, just as an example, the news media survives on its ability to deliver bad news because tragedy and challenge brings people in as an audience, which means they get more revenue. Mm-hmm. So society is structured that way. So to turn on its head and say, you know what, I'm going to spend the time taking care of myself, loving myself, and appreciating who I am for my own benefit.
Yeah,
is actually going against the grain.
Mm-hmm.
But it's what's needed more now than ever.
And I'm going to circle back to it is touted as you're being stuck up, you're showing your ego, you're braggadocious. I remember my grandmother using that word when I was a kid. Don't be a braggadocious person.
Right.
How do you find that balance where you do feel self-confident and you do see your value and you're not a big braggadocious person? And I will tell you, in my experience, not 100%, but a pretty high percentage, genuinely the people who do a lot of bragging, who are egotistical, who talk about themselves in these grandiose ways, are not really very self-confident. They really aren't. Or the quiet ones are the ones where you go, gosh, look at all the stuff they could be bragging about, and they're not.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing is, and you said exactly the way I was going to think about it, is that the thing about when you're taking care of yourself and you're doing these things for yourself, people might look at you being selfish. Mm-hmm. But I say it's true, it is selfish, but it's big S-ish versus selfish and because the term selfish comes from places basically being putting yourself above other people, or doing things away from other people and not being respectful of other people. Mm-hmm. But when I talk about the selfish way, we talk about this self-love, self-support focus, it is coming from an authentic place where you do embrace and include other people. And when you said that piece about the ego-driven braggadociousness and the ego-driven like self magnification, say how amazing I am and everything else, it's kind of like a house of cards. Mm-hmm. It really is. It's a shell they put on because they're afraid of facing their true self. And what you said is so true that what they're not bragging about or boasting about is their true core values, which are amazing, but they hide it behind the persona or the look they think they need to present to fit in society and succeed in society, which is a falsehood. Mm-hmm. And so understanding the difference.
Yes, and they're not even acknowledging some good things that they really do have.
Right.
And it's interesting you brought up the word selfish because typically we do only hear the definition of that we're taking away from other people by being selfish. And I heard that the Chinese people have two definitions of selfish. And one of them is that. Mm-hmm. And the other one is that you're giving to yourself so you have even more to give out to other people.
I
And
like that.
didn't know that. So all this is going to be so up Barry's alley. He is going to like this.
Well, yeah, and I think I've shared it here. And I know I've shared it other places too. Is that one ground rule I learned in the seminar many, many, many years ago when I was in my first seminar back in the 80s? Was the first ground rule they taught us is take care of yourself first, so you can then take care of other people.
Mm-hmm.
And I grew up with the other way around. I grew up with like take care of other people, so then you can then take care of yourself. Like I would gain self-value by what I did for other people, which is something a lot of people get, is that they value themselves based on what they can give, rather than value themselves so much they can then give.
Yes.
And that flipped the script, which is, I mean, it's obviously, you know, the whole thing where they do the safety instructions on the airplane. Where you put your own mask on first, or put the child's one on.
Yes.
That's a life skill that we forget when we get off the plane.
Yes. And we wear ourselves out if all we're doing is giving out. And if you're giving to get, you're not always gonna.
Oh yeah.
They're not the right people. They're so empty they can't give back. They can't give back in the way that you need. They could be lovely people. They just can't give back that way. And if that's the only way you're going to get filled up, you're going to get empty really fast.
It's like Chinese food.
Yes, you're hungry in an hour.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes.
It's a never-ending, and that's the thing. It's a never-ending. It's almost like an addiction. It's like a never-ending supply, and it is an addiction actually. For that seeking approval, seeking love, seeking attention from other people, so you don't feel the void inside yourself. Is because that is an empty void you can't fill with other people's attention.
No.
So you never can fill it up. It is a perpetual need and hunger that is never-ending. So until you learn how to do it yourself, you'll never be happy and satisfied, and then you'll never be able to have a healthy relationship.
Oh, yes.
Right
so
there.
now you just answered the whole thing. There it is.
I'll see you next week.
But one of my things I really thought about this is I thought, oh, you mean I have to actually look in the mirror at myself? I mean, really, that reflective thing that I don't like staring at myself, because I'm going to now point out all the things that are physically wrong with me. I mean, we're certainly going to talk about the emotional and mental part about we give each other ourselves a hard time. But I just was like, oh, the mirror, the horror of it all, you know, that it's to really look at yourself and say, what's really good about me?
Right.
Why do people hang around with me? What value do I bring to the world? And it's always a very good question to ask, because I am fascinated, and I certainly lived this way for a long time when I was younger. I didn't know what it was. I couldn't think of it even. And what few things I'd find 12 other things that were wrong to go against that one thing that was good. So I know you have a similar exercise that you can suggest. That the one I do is when you make out this list of what you offer in a relationship, what value you bring because of your uniqueness. And if you have trouble with that, you go to people that love you, people that have your best interest at heart, people that know you well and for a while, and ask them. And you can't filter, you can't edit, you write down every single thing they say, and then you stick it on your bathroom mirror, and twice a day, because most people brush their teeth twice a day, before or after you brush your teeth, you read it out loud. And I love giving this assignment because I tell people, you don't have to believe any of the things that you're saying. You can even say it in a snotty voice. You can go, oh, I'm this. I don't care, because your mind doesn't care, and it will unfilter. Just start listening to it. And if you do it twice a day, every day, even in just as short a time as a week, because now you've done it 14 times, you'll go, oh, I think I'm feeling a little different. And then after a couple of weeks, I love it. They'll go, did you change your hair? Did you lose weight? And it's all because they've been working on their self-confidence. It makes me so happy.
Yeah, I know. I do the same thing, although I don't use the snotty voice piece. That's yours. You use that one. But it's that recognition of the fact we can retrain our own subconscious, and that's the wonderful gift about this. And for me, it is a practice. I do a self-love meditation. I mean, I have a self-love meditation on my website, which is basically a guided meditation, an AM and a PM one, and it's about, and the AM one is about really owning the love of yourself through your own eyes in the mirror, which is like a simpler, in terms it doesn't require a lot of research. It's like, just do this.
Yeah,
Do
I love
this
it.
and do this twice a day for a month. I set a month as a boundary because it's something
Yeah.
like 21, 25 days for a new habit to install. But even 14 times is a great start. But doing that every day, and in the morning we set up with daily intentions to go with it in the guided meditation, and the evening is one of gratitude. So it's like it's bookended. But the thing about it is either one of these is taking time to spend time with yourself in the mirror and to spend time appreciating and valuing who you are,
Yes. Yes.
which is fundamental.
Yes. And what's so cool is because we have such different approaches, it could appeal to different people and different blocks and different reasons I can't do that one. Well, maybe I could do that one, and how
Yeah.
nice to have options.
And the thing is, a lot of times what we're looking for, just to book in something, so you said earlier about looking for those qualities in a relationship, it's really about, can you look at them inside yourself first? Because a lot of things you're looking to get, I think you can give yourself already, so you don't need it from somebody else.
Yes.
So when you do, it becomes gravy, a bonus additive when you meet somebody, because you're already doing it for yourself,
Yes.
whether it's
Yeah.
support or presence or compassion or whatever those things are.
Yes. How much are we looking for validation, reassurance,
Yeah,
happiness outside of ourselves?
right.
It is such an important question to ask.
Because the thing is, we're in a trap where we keep thinking that when they show up, I'll feel this way.
Yes.
Now I've done it, so I know what it feels like.
Oh, yeah.
Many of us
Oh,
have.
haven't we all?
But it's like many of these things we can give ourselves, and I've had to learn how to do it for myself, which is why I love doing this work for my clients, because I know it works from personal experience.
Mm-hmm.
The more I fill up my own batteries first, I refuel, so to speak, first, I'm more able to give, and I don't drain myself. I'm not worn out.
Yeah.
And especially, I was talking to somebody about this recently, when you're a parent, especially if you're a single parent with kids, this is a powerful thing to learn, because for most single parents, they don't believe they have any time, which is actually not true, but they don't believe they have any time to take care of themselves because the kids come first. It's like, yes, and
Yeah.
if you learn how to fit time in between those times and before and after, or when they go to bed or before they get up in the morning, whatever that is, and start to tune yourself to remember to fill up your own batteries first, your kids get taken care of much more easily, and you have more time left over or energy
Mm-hmm.
left over after the time's up, which is good. So it's anybody can do this.
Yes.
Either one of ours or other skills are out there too.
Mm-hmm.
Just doing things that refuel our own batteries, refuel our own tanks, and give us the energy that we need to live, to thrive, to enjoy life.
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, so many good points. And one of the things I do is I bribe the people that are single parents, both men
Of
and
course you
women.
do.
Of course I do. I am all about bribing people. I bribe myself. Okay, what reward are you going to get if you go do this thing you're not sure you really want to do? And I'll get a reward, and then I'll go do the thing. So the way I bribe single parents is, you really want your children to be healthy, happy adults. So let's show them an example, because most kids, you want them to hear every single thing you say. I have found there's lots more influence and impact with what you do. So
Yes.
you be the example of taking care of yourself, and they'll go, oh, well, I could do that. And that you show limits and boundaries of, my mother worked the majority of my life outside in an office.
Mm-hmm.
And she had a long drive, and she would come home, and we had 5 minutes of, is there anything urgent? It better be urgent. And then she'd go in her bedroom and shut the door. And unless the rule was, for a half an hour, the house is on fire or somebody's bleeding all over the carpet, do not knock on that door.
Yep.
And we knew that, and we were fine with that. And she would come out in a really good mood and ready to, for the long conversation about our day and cooking dinner and, getting ready for the evening. But oh boy, if she didn't have that time. So I really learned how to be selfish in this good way of giving back to myself, so that I have my best self to give people. Because people say, as a coach, you and I have to deal with this all the time of, you don't get drained. My husband would be so surprised after a whole day of coaching. You're not drained? Go, first, I get a lot out of coaching.
Yeah.
And I take breaks. I would stop, make sure I blocked out time to have lunch and do something I loved, like sit out on the patio or read a good book or call a friend, so that I had a balance in my day and I wasn't just giving.
Yeah.
Even though I got a lot back, I made sure on purpose, consciously, I was giving to myself. I mean, I think I might have mentioned that when I first moved in with Tony, I was, had my planning company and I was working a lot of hours and I was unpacking and planning a wedding in a month. And I would get to 3 o'clock in the afternoon and I wouldn't have had lunch and I was kind of grouchy, or actually really a lot grouchy, because I don't do good if I don't eat. So I finally put an alarm on my phone and people were like, because I'd be out and it would go off at 1 o'clock. They go, what is that? I go, it's to remind me to have lunch. They go, you have to be reminded to have lunch. I go, I learned. I didn't know that about me. I just normally ate, but boy, with all this on my plate, I was not making time for lunch. So when it went off at 1 o'clock, I had to stop and whatever I was doing, wrap up, done in 5 minutes, go eat, even if it was only half an hour, come back. And I have to tell you, I was in a much better mood when I did that. So you have to walk your talk, and because what we're doing is so important and we have to be there with our best self. And if we don't take care of ourselves, how can we do that?
Exactly. And this thing, I mean, and what I love about it is you found a way that worked for you, because the other thing is what we're recommending isn't a set routine. You must do this routine to do it. It's find what works for you.
Yes.
So, and for me, with my coaching, I've got it set up where my coaching sessions have padding in between the sessions.
Yeah.
Because for my own sanity, one, because I want to make sure that I've fully integrated what my client has gone through, and when I can make notes and catch up, make sure I put things away for that client. So that way I don't forget next time we talk, because, saves me then to think about it.
Yes.
That's a whole other conversation, by the way.
Oh,
is then having room between to do things that, stretch my legs, go take care of myself before the next session.
Yes.
And let me go back to that piece, because that's one of the biggest things. Is I remember taking it was a business management course 25, 30 years ago. And one of the teachers, this is back before there were cell phones and online calendars. It's all done by day finders. I can't remember what those books were called.
Oh, I had one of those. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a diary, but it was like a journal. It was, I think, keeping track of your days, like a calendar type thing.
Yeah.
And he said one thing that stuck with me all these years later, because I was thinking, like, why do you write things down all the time? It's like, I can remember stuff. It's like, no, he writes things down so he can forget about them. Because by putting him in his calendar will remind him at the right time. Now, with cell phones and with alerts and alarms, so much easier. But it's like I put things in my calendar, in my phone, and don't even think about it. And then when it gets a beep from my phone, it's like, oh, in 50 minutes you're doing this. I'm like, oh, into gear, remember what's going on.
Yes.
But it didn't mean I had to carry the whole thing on my shoulders for the previous 24 hours or 3 weeks or whatever it was.
Yeah.
So using tools to help us have more freedom.
Yes.
That's what it is. It's like some people feel like they're chained to their cell phones. Like for me, with my calendar on my cell phone especially, it's the one thing that gives me more freedom, because I can write something down in my calendar, make the notes I need to make about it. And if it needs to do something earlier, I'll make a note about that too. But then once I put it in the phone, it's like, what was I did? I don't know. I don't think about it anymore. Because I can be free.
And it gives you back that energy that you would be draining by doing the what.
In circles, yes.
Yes, and it's not productive or helpful. And so,
No.
yes, to think about what tools we have in our life that give us back time, because that churning takes away time and energy, where we could be doing something really fun instead.
Indeed.
Yes, and I really do make sure I have padding between too. That was such an important thing to say. No matter what your job is, no matter what your life is like, how can you schedule? Because people are like, oh, it's going to happen, like sex and dates. No. We will talk about that too.
Yes.
But the things that are really important that we need to honor that importance, write it down. Write it down.
Absolutely.
So now we have more to talk about when we come back, but Cece says it's time for a break. Here come the commercials.
See you in a minute.
Bye.
And we're back.
Yes, we're back. Talking about that the most important relationship you can have is with yourself in the mirror.
In the mirror. The one in the mirror. Yeah.
The one in the mirror. Because if you don't have a good relationship with yourself, how can you be available, be conscious, have the energy, the time, the inclination, the acceptance to have somebody wonderful come into your life? Because we have all pushed them away when we didn't feel worthy.
Right. And the other thing also is it's harder to, I mean, the meme I posted this morning, like it's impossible to pour from an empty cup. And the idea is like if you're dating and you're not taking care of yourself first, eventually you're so burnt out that how can you take care of somebody else and be attractive by being so shiny, bright to other people if you've been burning out the battery inside that you can't even fuel yourself with anymore?
Yeah.
So it's a fundamental piece. So, and that's the thing. So I think we should definitely talk about the things we can do, or more things we can do to fill up those, juice ourselves up and to look in the mirror that way. Because one of the things in the mirror, I was thinking about this one the other day about the mirror is interesting because it's such a lie to look in the mirror, because what we're seeing is not ourselves, but a reflection of ourselves backwards. And I remember being a photographer, I remember seeing pictures. It's like, we see pictures of yourself versus the mirror image. It's like, they're not the same because you're backwards. So metaphorically speaking, talking about the mirror, not saying you look in the one in the mirror and go, because you might look in the mirror and go, that's not me. The freckle's the other side, that sort of thing.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's really important. So yes, what can we do? So it was interesting when I liked the thing that you posted about having an empty cup and how do you fill it up. And I think one thing we need to also just mention that sometimes people would have what I call a hole in their bucket. That it's because it keeps draining out because there's a hole. So, you've met people like that no matter how much you tell them or give them or are loving, and it never fills them up because they have this hole in their bucket. And to find out if you have a hole or even just a crack and get that repaired, because all this technique that we're going to talk about filling yourself up is not going to be very helpful if it's just going to drain out the bottom. So
yes,
look into that to get some
a couple of
teaching or therapy.
A couple of things I'll speak about that. When you said that, what came out right away is that people who fall into the pattern of addiction are especially people who have got that hole in their bucket, metaphorically speaking, because they're looking to fill that thing up that never gets filled because it keeps draining out. And so, which is why I guess I'm lucky in a sense, or grateful in a sense, that addiction has never been one of my things.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I was never at the hole, but I found other ways to fill it that weren't addictive, so to speak. And I learned early on, thankfully, how to not so much patch the hole, but to remove the hole. It's almost like the thing about you do this work is you don't patch the hole because the patch can come off. Is you actually remove the hole itself. The hole can be removed, so you become a completely whole container again. So
you heal the container.
Yes.
So the hole is gone. Yeah.
Exactly. And so
I thought that was really important that we had to talk about that first.
Yes.
No matter what we tell you to do, if you have a hole, it's not going to help.
So before we get into this, the ways to fill up your own battery, let's talk about why the hole might be there and what you can do about that as well, just on a very cursory level, because this is a very deep topic, I know.
Yeah, that could be like weeks and weeks.
Indeed. And with clients, it takes that long sometimes with our clients, as we know.
Yeah.
So part of what happens is we take on beliefs from those we respect, like parents, siblings, other people, teachers, whatever it is, that we believe as being the truth when it's false. So we might take on beliefs about our lack of value or our lack of ownership, of wholeness. Maybe we took on the belief because we were told by our parents that we were no good for some reason because they were upset about something and they took it out on us. It wasn't about us, but we took it on personally and we took it to heart. And we then believe that we have some flaw. And so we create this crack in our own psyche, our own self-support. The reality is that is a belief. So therefore being a belief, it can be changed. So before anybody goes, oh no, I'm stuck. It's like, no.
Oh no.
This can be resolved. And that's the thing, is that a lot of what we're talking about here is to really learn how to transform your own internal dialogue, because part of what is going on is not so much as filling up with good stuff. It's like changing what you tell yourself inside that so it's good stuff.
Yes.
So those two things is like learning what it is that we're carrying as beliefs that deny us our wholeness. And I should say we deny ourselves our wholeness because it's not somebody else, it's internalized. And secondly, is really how to look at our own facets of ourselves that we can respect and love and enjoy.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I hardly have anything to add to that because that's exactly
Oh,
how I
please, you
feel
must have something.
too. Well, maybe one thing.
Oh, yeah.
And I really agree that what I often will say is, well, when is the first time you remember feeling that way in your life? You know, the lack of self-worth, that you're stupid or ugly or, you know, not a talk too much or talk too little or whatever the thing is that you're now telling yourself that makes you not a worthy person. When do you remember feeling that? When do you remember hearing that? Because we have no filtering, as you said. I mean, we're dependent on our parents for our shelter and our clothes and our love and our food. And so we have to, most of the time, if we don't have some sort of self-confidence on our own, we just internalize it and take it in with no filtering. So not to give yourself a hard time about that at all, because there's no other choice. You know, it's just how it works. They say it, you go, oh, it must be the truth. They're bigger and smarter and in control. So to look back and go, well, was it true then? Maybe you did something stupid or, you know, did something wrong, and they were very valid in saying it. But we think that makes us a bad person rather than that was just bad behavior. I think that was one of the things Dr. Spock started talking about, that you don't like the behavior, you just don't not like them as a person. So to now heal that, that's how you heal that hole, is to say, well, why did it happen then? And was there something I could learn from that? And was it not the truth at all? Or it certainly isn't who I am now. And to now see all the validation that that's not who you are now, that you are smart, you've gone to college, or you've taken classes, or you've got world, like me, most of mine is, you know, life experience. And it's made me pretty smart, you know, and I certainly don't know everything about everything, but I know a lot about a few things. And it's what helped me go, oh, well, yeah, I'm not a bad person. I'm a really good person because of this and this and this. So to revisit, you know, it's not like you have to tell your parents they were horrible or go back to, you know, do regression stuff, but to acknowledge, where did it come from? Where did that hole come from? And that's how you heal it. You just get a do-over.
Right. And it's like the two things is one, whose voice was it that told you? Because that's one thing you finally go, oh, it wasn't me telling me that. Somebody else did. Oh, you can create a gap there. Secondly is, what was the situation, the circumstance? Because you said it's like, you know, maybe you did something stupid when you were a kid. Well, kids didn't generally do stupid things. It's kind of what makes us who we are. It's how we learn, by our mistakes.
Yeah.
So by having clarity about what it is, and sometimes it takes some digging to get to the point of clarity, you start seeing the truth that it actually was that temporary situation. But then to give ourselves a life sentence of not being allowed to have joy because of one thing that happened when we were 3 years old or 5 years old, it was a mistake. That's an errant approach. So definitely changing that and rewiring the beliefs so we become free to enjoy the rest of our lives in wholeness is a worthy goal for everybody.
Yes. And the perfect way to heal the hole in the bucket.
Yep.
I mean, it really works that way. It really does, because that's what made the hole. And now you're like, oh, I don't believe that anymore for whatever reason. It wasn't true then, or it's certainly not true now. The hole just will heal right up. And it's, you know, not quite as easy as I'm making it sound. It really takes some digging and some work and some self-reflection and some bouncing it off of somebody that can really keep you on track and give you next steps that make it feel not quite so terrifying, because I think people don't want to do it because it seems like it's going to be really terrifying. I've come up with all these blocks so I don't have to think about it because I didn't want to think, and now you want me to think about it?
Yeah, it's protection that we're saying take down because it's not working for you. So yes, it does require finding somebody you can trust that will hold good space for you. Yeah.
Oh yeah, so essential. So now you've heard some of the techniques that we could help you with, and that you know that you wouldn't, oh yeah, I think I do have a hole in my bucket about this, and so I want to heal it. And now your bucket is all sealed up and still kind of empty. So what are you going to do about that? Yeah. So one of the funny things I learned a lot when I in my event planning business, a third of my business was weddings, and people would want to help their friends or family help with something, some of the decorations or the favors. And I'd say, okay, whatever they love doing that they would do for no money, and they're really good, it's effortless for them. That's what you want to ask them to do. And I would hear all these complaints, not only from my client and from their friends who go, no, I want something hard. No, 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 no. You don't want to do the hard thing. You want to do the thing that comes naturally. That's your natural talent. And they really would go, huh? And it was fun to have them do this mind shift, not only just because they were going to help with the wedding. Really? That's a valuable thing? Because I am here to tell you, I was raised by a dad said, the harder it is, the more valuable it is. The more work you do, harped on that. So I knew how to work really hard and exhaust myself until I learned that's not really working for me. I have these things that I could spend hours at, and I go to this volunteer place with horses and typically walk about 4 miles doing this laborious work, and I am energized at the end of the day. I am not tired. I'm sweaty and icky and smell like horses, but I am so full of energy. Where if you ask me to do something I hate for an hour, it's one of those things, where a bad date feels like an hour and it's only been 5 minutes. That's sort of how that stuff is that's hard, right?
Yeah, I had a couple of those.
Yeah. We want the date that feels like 5 minutes and it was an hour.
Right. That's the thing. They say time flies when having fun. Well, that's the reality. And it is, and really what I love what you said about that is so key is about recognizing, first of all, what we've been told is right and wrong, so we know we can choose between that. But also finding what lights you up. So doing things that do light you up. For me, I love the work I do, and that's why I do this, is because it's my joy to serve and to inspire. But also I love having social interaction. That's one of my things, but not, it's funny, I was recently been discovering the value of the word ambivert, which is like half extrovert, half introvert, because I'm kind of in the middle of those. And recognizing that I love being around groups and for a period of time, and also love being alone a period of time. But I love being around small groups. That's my sort of my jam, so to speak. So it's easier. So when I find that opportunity to play with people, either online or like on Zoom or in person, that fills my tank as well. So doing those things more often now that we're almost post-pandemic and had the vaccine and everything else, is like I've got social plans showing up the next month or so with people who also had that, so we can now start redoing those in person again, which is like great. That's like a battery recharge. So those things really help fill me up. But before that, and that's the thing that we really want to talk about, those people who are starting this journey from the beginning, is what things do we have skill at in ourselves that we can fill up our own battery? Whether it might be, maybe one of your skills is baking, cooking. That's one thing I got into this last year with the lockdown, was making bread, amongst other things. And so there's a joy in doing that is totally selfish, so to speak, because it's not for anybody else, it's for me. But one, I enjoy the process, and two, I get results because I get to have food I can eat, which is fun.
And you know everything that's in it.
And it's healthier because it doesn't have any chemicals in it. It's all just stuff I get from the store individually and put together. Especially my cookies. Yeah, those are definitely much healthier. They're not healthy, but healthier. Even more. Right. But it's those sort of things, and because then having those habits we do, might be going for walks or going for bike rides or doing things like helping horses, doing things in your life that fill you up, that isn't about somebody else.
Yes.
Because it's the key. You want to fill up your own batteries first.
Yes.
Because if you're using somebody else to fill yourself up, that's the old pattern we're talking about here.
Yes.
That's the falsehood. But when you fill yourself up first by doing things that make you feel better, make you feel happy, make you feel full, and make you feel loving toward yourself, those go in the plus column. So keep doing those things. And the more you do those, the more unnecessary somebody else is to make you feel okay, because you don't need to fill up your battery from somebody else. Your own battery is full. And secondly, because your battery is full, your light shines more brightly.
Yes. And you have more to give to people. Yes.
Exactly.
Yes. I love that you always use the word lights you up, because can't you tell when somebody's doing something, whatever that something is, that they really like?
Makes it more attractive. Yeah, of course. Yes.
It just beams out of them.
Yes.
And feeling passionate about something is so attractive. It's so attractive. So selfishly do it for that reason. If you want to be more attractive to the opposite sex, keep doing more of the things that you're passionate about, that light you up, that fill you up, that make you feel happier, that make you feel more worthy, that you go, I'm damn good at this, whatever this is.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And the key qualifier about this is that when you do that and nobody else shows up, you're
Yeah.
still okay because you fill up your
Oh,
own tanks first. This is the key.
yeah.
It's detachment.
Yeah.
So it's like you're not doing it to get the
No,
attention
no,
because that's the
no,
trap.
no. Yes, it is the trap that you have to, the only reason you're doing it is that it fills you up, that it makes
Yes.
you happy, that you feel better, you feel energized. And then if it helps others, so I have to tell you, horses are very ungrateful. They don't care that I scoop their poop and clean their buckets. They don't care. But I have this whole dialogue in my head about, I am such a good person that I'm doing this. And I know their house is all beautiful now. And I pretend to have this whole conversation with them about, gosh, Christine, thank you for making my home so lovely. Because they don't care. They so don't care. They
Mm-hmm.
like, whatever. There's a person in here and you're cleaning my stall. Thank you. They don't even say thank you. So it's a perfect atmosphere for me to say, I am doing this for me.
Yes.
I'm doing it because it's exercise. I like making things neat and organized. Boy, it's a mess when I get there and it looks great when I'm done. And I get to hang out with these beautiful animals that I adore. So it's all about me. Now, yes, somebody else doesn't have to come do it. And yes, the horses really are, they'll be healthier because they're not walking in their poop and their pee and they're not drinking yucky water. But that is so secondary. It has to be, and we don't think about that. We don't think about it has to be all about us and then them.
Yeah.
It feels so uncomfortable for people to think like that.
Because we're not raised that way. So we've got to take care of others, make them feel okay, and then we can take time for ourselves if there's time left over, which is horrendous. Yeah. I mean, that's probably what's making our working class society so challenging, because it's always about, and that's a whole other conversation I'm getting into now. It's like, no, we're not going to that path.
I watched that go, oh my, that was a good subject. Yeah.
Coming from a working class family in England, I definitely remember that experience about you work 9 to 5 for 40 years to get the gold watch. Like, that syndrome is part of what prevails in this culture that gives us the mindset that you have to keep giving to other people, and then when there's time to give to yourself. And so, yes, there is the idea about you. And if you've got the mindset where you're going to work when you get back to normal working hours again, working Monday through Friday, then you get the weekend to yourself. It's like, really, it's the other way around. You want to think about the weekend for yourself, so you fill up your battery, so then you can go work afterwards.
Yeah.
So rather than having a week that goes from Monday through Sunday, think of your week going from Saturday through Friday. So that way you start with taking care of yourself first, and then you go to work. Because then it's from your overflow. So shifting your calendar that way in your mind of going, okay, so I've got 2 days to take care of myself and really enjoy myself and have a lot of fun and really feel good, and then I go do some work because I feel okay.
Yes,
I know when I was
like your work.
Right. Well, yes. I remember my 20s. I just did jobs to pay the bills, but I was definitely looking at work through the lens of work was filling up the tank, filling up all my time, and then it'd be 2 days I could recover from it, which is backwards. And now look at it and going, no, the other way around. And so really seeing through the lens of self-care first, you can be more effective in the world.
Yes. Yeah. I think it is interesting how many people work to play. To make the money to play. And that is even not bad. And hopefully you like enough what you're doing if you're going to spend that many hours. Because I would do that when I'd walk around my events and how you doing? Is there something you need? And then if I stood longer, I go, what do you do? I mean, oh my gosh, I found about where stuff comes from. I was fascinated. And I'd say, and do you like it? And I would tell you more than 75% no.
Yeah.
Oh, so what makes you stay there? I've been there forever. How sad. How tragic. Because that's a hole in your bucket. That is really, you can't fill yourself up enough on the weekend. I think that's when a lot of people do have some of their addictions, because they're trying to make up for this draining time they're spending during the week. And it's interesting how I've talked to a number of people when they went virtual at their work, and they had to start doing more for themselves. and they had to get a little more self-involved and selfish, and like, how am I going to work this out that it feels more comfortable to me? And we'd have these really great conversations about that. And so many of them either aren't going to go back because they like this part of it, or they're doing it differently now that they're back.
Yeah.
Yeah. That, I mean, you know me, I'm always trying to find the other side of the coin. What's the benefit of this crappy, horrible year of all the yucky pandemic and having to be not in company of people? People had to get really self-evaluating, don't you think?
Oh yeah, and that's the other part is that we have got a mindset. I mean, it's almost, we're now doing career counseling today. It's interesting as short of that way.
No.
But it's the understanding about, again, it's fundamental about how do you take care of yourself first in what you do, how you are, when you express, so when you do things in the world, you don't drain yourself doing it. Or if you drain yourself, you drain less than you filled up, so you still come away whole.
Yes. And I will mention one little thing, because Cece says we need to stop.
Yes.
That if you're not in the place where you retired, one of the benefits about while you're working and coming up with passionate things and things that you love doing and things you want to do more of is now you have a plan for when you retire. Because sadly, lots of people retire and then they don't know what in the heck to do with themselves because they didn't develop outside interests and things that really lit them up, as you say. And there's another reason to do this if you're still, working in a 9 to 5-ish kind of job, to have a plan for the future.
Oh yeah, I mean, the number of men I know, it's true with men particularly, when they get to retirement, the death rate of men dying after they retire short term because they didn't have another thing to go to. It's tragic how many men, women too, I think to agree, but I think women are better versed in having things to do outside of work. But men who go for their career to their 65 and retire, and then before they're 70, they've died. The numbers are staggering how many people do that. So that's not a good note to end on, though. Let's think what else we can wrap this up on a positive note.
I know, because I was going to say, the wives are like, stop being home all the time.
So basically, do things that light you up. Period.
That's good. So I keep wanting to incentivize people, and I'm hoping that that's a really good incentive. I hadn't really thought about that. I think I need to get hobbies. I need to have outside interests to prepare for when I retire. So that's the most positive I can bring.
And also in your relationships too, because when you're doing things that light you up, you become a better partner.
Yes. And you have more things to contribute because you're talking about the things that you're passionate about, whether or not you do it together or not, because that's a whole other subject.
Indeed.
So thanks for joining us today. And if you'd like to talk to either of us about any of these subjects we brought up today, because we really talked about a lot of heavy, important, pivotal, foundational things today. I just love our talk so much. This is why I missed you for 2 whole weeks. So if you'd like to get a hold of me, my website is www.theperfectcatch.com, and it's now moved to the bottom. Click on what's holding you back from love so that we can have a free chat and just kind of, where are things right now and what would you like to be different? And let's see if there's something we can work on together. You can also send me an email at christine@theperfectcatch.com. And you can find me on Facebook and LinkedIn and Pinterest and Instagram and YouTube. And did I do them all?
And Twitter? Did you say Twitter?
And Twitter. No, okay. I forgot.
I was trying to remember.
I do tweet. Not as much as everything else, but I do tweet. And Gary, tell them how they can get a hold of you, please.
Certainly. So my website is my name, which is barryselby.com. Actually, my web person hasn't finished redoing my site, so my site's still the old-fashioned one from the 90s. So go to barryselby.com, and on the website, there's a link at the top. You can click on Let's Chat, and that's where you sign up for a complimentary conversation. It's 30 minutes where basically you have my ear, my time, my heart to support you where you want to go. And we can have a conversation. I'm noticing it still has your stuff on the bottom. It's okay. People can listen to what I'm saying. So this website, I have all my signature programs on there. I have my book is on there as well, 50 Ways to Love Your Lover, and also a great little series on cracking the codependency code, which this might lead into, because what we talked about today ties into that. That's on my website as well. And on social media, you can find me at Barry Selby on Facebook, although Barry Selby.author is my business page. You can follow me there. On YouTube, it's Barry Selby. Twitter, it's Barry Selby. LinkedIn, it's Barry Selby. Instagram, it's the real Barry Selby. Clubhouse, it's Barry Selby. I can say that now.
There you are.
And Twitter, it's Barry Selby. Pinterest, all those things. That's everything, I think. Yeah. So follow me. You can find me on YouTube, especially because I have over 1,000 videos on my YouTube playlists that will help you, and they're all free.
On your wonderful Facebook Lives that you do so effortlessly.
Well, I haven't done any for a while because they're all recorded now, but at least they're available to watch for review. So yeah,
They're wonderful. They're so
thank you.
informative. You're really welcome. You're really welcome. I love sharing them. So thank you for joining us and for your comments and your questions. And we'll look forward to hearing from you through any of our means of writing to us. And then we'll be back again next week at 1 o'clock Pacific, 4 o'clock Eastern, and all the other time zones in between.
Yes, we'll see you then and have another topic to play with.
Bye for now.
See you next week.